accounts of your experience, but nothing directly from you in your own words, in your own writing. You should write a book. I thought, well, I'm not really an author. I don't know if I can do that. He said, listen, you should do that. And if you do that, I have a publishing company. I will publish your book. I'm like, huh, really? All right. So during, it was around Christmas time of 2014, I sat down for a few days at my computer. I put on some old 80s music, because that's when the haunting occurred. I told my family, leave me alone for a day or two. And I really churned out the 400 pages in about 5 or 6 days, the whole thing, because it had been in my head for almost 30 years. So it was almost no effort to push down and put on print and put into the computer what had happened to me. Of course, then you have to edit the book and you have to do the syntax. That comes later on. But the actual book, which is 400 pages long, I poured out of myself in about 5.5, 6 days. So, and I was surprised that people found value in it. And then when I got invited, so again, I was invited into Sci-Fi. I didn't pursue it. I was invited onto Coast to Coast AM. Okay, and he read the book, George Norrie. He liked it. I got to speak about the book. And the cool thing about that, there are two cool things. The first cool thing is when you go on a big TV show like or radio show like that, people hear about that, they buy your book. So the next day, my book was selling like crazy, hundreds of copies like crazy. So that was a nice thing because, well, two things. It helps people hear your story, and guess what? Puts a few tuppence in your pocket. The other thing that was good about that is that the priest who blessed my room during the haunting, I had not seen him in 30 years. I thought he passed on. When I was in the radio show, he was in the hospital having surgery. He came out of surgery. He was sitting in the resting area, and the radio was on, and the radio was playing Coast to Coast AM, and he heard me say his name on the radio across this global program. He thought, oh my gosh, he reached out to me, and I got to meet the priest 30 years later who helped me and say thank you to him. That was a great, great blessing for me.
Well, when I did the chapter 1 of your book, because I quite enjoyed reading it, I could sense the essence of how you was feeling during the event. I think it came out very well in the book.
Well, thank you. I talk about fear, and I talk about freezing or fighting or things like that, and I was given advice. The advice I was given by this person who works at the New York Times, he said, always start with a powerful moment. So I thought back to the haunting. A very powerful moment was me lying on the floor, bleeding after that attack in the bathroom. So I figured, you know what? I'll just start with that. And I thought, okay, well, people didn't experience that. I did. What did that feel like? What could I tell them? So I decided at that point in time, I would put the reader in the room with me. So I tried to write the book as though I'm talking to you, or as though you're with me throughout the whole process. And in this way, the reader can experience this trauma, this excitement, this new approach to like my whole life in the safety of their own room, the safety of their own, their own bed, because they're not actually living it, but they could feel the fear, they could feel the drama. And I'm very thankful, as I said before, that I was able to actually, to some degree, express how I felt all those years later. And I think it's because those moments, those days, I was fighting for my sanity, I was fighting for my life. And those moments, those thoughts, those ideas are seared, burned into me like a brand, into my mind. And that's why I think it wasn't difficult for me to share them in the way that I did.
How does it feel like when you hear your own words spoken back?
Well, I laugh a lot because all of this to me is so just unexpected. It's so interesting. I mean, I'll answer your question in this fashion. When the Sci-Fi show came out, it would repeat itself sometimes, different times of the night, different times of the evening, and I'd be in a restaurant or a bar, and there's my face in the TV. People would go, "Oh my gosh, that's you on TV! Sign this for me. Sign this napkin." It was so strange that certain things can make people see you in a different way. So back in college, I was so upset by being called the Ghost Boy. It really bothered me. 30 years later, fast forward, people are celebrating it like, you're so cool. I'm like, I am. So it's amazing how society can control you, it can affect you in good and bad. To have someone read my words, to have somebody quote my words, to have somebody say to me, they help them, that is so gratifying. It is so gratifying. It's hard for me to understand. It's hard for me to put in perspective, but I can tell you I'm very moved by that.
As I said earlier, I really generally did get the sense of the book, and I shall look forward to reading more at one stage.
Well, absolutely. I don't know if you have it. If you want, I can send you a copy. I'll put it in the mail to you in the post.
Thank you very much for that, Chris. That's very kind of you.
Absolutely.
Now, well, now when you was doing the book, did you have to do tours and promote it and do the usual things that people have to do to sell a book?
I didn't have to, but you're supposed to. And they usually give you an option about that. Do you want to just do like Barnes and Noble stores, the big sellers? Do you want to do conferences? Do you want to go to colleges? And when I saw the positive feedback I was getting with the book, I thought, you know what? This is fun. Why don't I travel around, see different places, meet different people? So I embraced that. And up until about 6 months ago, I was doing an event almost every week. So I think in 2017, I did 44 events. And the year before that, I did 43. So constant in the road. Eventually you get tired. Your body wears out from all the fast food and the hotels. But I did that, yeah. And I really enjoyed it. And if you think about this, when I left college, even though I think the haunting was resolved by then, it was still solely negative in my mind because it prevented me from being who I wanted to be. However, now that I see people's reactions and they ask me questions and they shake my hand and they're happy to see me, I think, you know what? Sharing my story was a good idea because not only do they learn from my experience, but it feels good to share it, to say it, to speak it. It's cathartic in that way, you know? So I love that. And so I'm a little older now and I'm trying to slow my schedule down so that my health stays good. But yeah, I really do enjoy that. I do. And almost every time I go someplace, I meet a few people who are just amazing, who are positive, and I love the interaction. I love meeting people I would otherwise meet, and I can go any place now and meet. I'll give you an example. I was going down to Florida, state of Florida, last year to visit my grandmother and my sister and my young nephew, and I was going to Alabama, and I thought, I think Kat Hobson lives around here, and sure enough, she did, and I got to go sit with Kat. I had, for the very first time, I had sushi, and she gave me a beautiful, beautiful picture of a seagull. So what an amazing time, you know? So all I can say is that writing the book, sharing the book, and speaking about it has been as positive as the haunting was negative.
I was wondering, what would you tell your teenage self now? If you could meet your teenage self, what would you say?
A lot of things. A lot of things. It's funny how as I get older, I'm so much smarter than I was back then. I thought as a kid I was pretty smart. Looking back, that was not the case. I would tell my teenage self to enjoy being young, to enjoy having healthy lungs, to enjoy having strong legs, to enjoy having good hearing and good sight, to enjoy being able to stay up all night and not suffer the consequences, to enjoy not having a job, you know, day and night, you know, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 for 30 years. I would say enjoy their life. In terms of the haunting, I'd have told myself, it sounds odd, to get more evidence. I didn't want it back then. I wanted just to stop. But now I see later on that people really like these proofs. So I would have probably talked to the ghost more. I would have tried to, you know, brought my friends into greater contact with this experience rather than keeping them apart from it because I was scared for their safety. But, you know, you live your life for a reason. That's to learn. And, you know, I'm still here, so knock on wood. That should be good enough.
Oh, glad to hear, because otherwise we wouldn't be having this lovely conversation.
Absolutely. That's a fact.
Now, before we'll be going to a break soon, so I'm going to ask a question after. I'll ask the question before we go to the break.
Yeah.
Have you got any other skills you'd like to mention?
Right, so during the break, I think about this, or do I give you a quick word?
I think we give it a think about, because
okay.
I think you might think, oh, I wonder why I'm good, because I heard you singing earlier on, and I thought, I wonder if he's into singing or comedy. I sing as well, badly, but I do sing.
Understood. So I'll think during the break, and I'll keep it clean.
That's okay. Please do. Otherwise, I may never be allowed on the air ever again.
Absolutely.
In the UK, we've got a thing called bleeps, and it's only beep, 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 and beep, 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 beep.
A lot of sense going to go on. No, I will try to think for your listeners when we get back from the break, a skill or two I have that maybe people won't be surprised.
And I think you should look at British postcard humour.
Got it. Mission accepted.
And you check it out, and I think you'll like it. I think you're the kind of person that will get the jokes. They're innuendo jokes. They're not like, they're a bit in your face, but and some of it may go over your head because you're American, and British humour does go over the head.
All right,
and we're on a break now, Chris. Okay. See you after the break.
Yes.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi, Chris. I saw you had a look at the British card humour. What did you think?
It's funny. It's a dry, somewhat mature form of humor, which I thoroughly enjoy.
Well, I'm a great fan of the Carry On films. I don't know if you get them over in the States. I'm not too sure. But they are full of that kind of humour, and they probably wouldn't make it now, unfortunately.
I used to like watching from BBC, I think it's called Keeping Up Appearances with Mrs. Bouquet.
Yes. Yeah.
I like that.
Bouquet. Yes. Not bucket, bouquet.
That's right. I love the Monty Pythons, Fawlty Towers, so I'm a big fan. The old Doctor Who with Tom Baker.
Yes, and his jelly babies and his long scarf.
Yes, that's right.
Now, Chris, before the break, you was going to think over what other skills you may have. I'm quite interested to find that out.
Well, I used to run, no longer. That skill's gone. I can still draw. I can still draw images, so I can do a portrait of someone in about 15, 20 minutes and make their likeness. I wanted to be, as a young person, an artist. I used to draw pictures of celebrities like Elvis Presley and Marilyn Monroe. I used to draw pictures of my friends or relatives, but I was always advised that wasn't really a career. You know,